A Scientific American article said, vote for Kamala Harris to support science, health, and the environment. Kamala Harris has plans to improve health, boost the economy, and mitigate climate change. Donald Trump has threats and a dangerous record. What do you think about the editors of Scientific American endorsing a candidate for the second time in only 179 years?
Well, I mean, I would say that they're not actually adding to their own credibility. I mean, the data that I've seen suggests that not a lot of voters are going to shift their viewpoint based on the grand input of Scientific American, but a lot of people are going to shift what they think of Scientific American because of that input.
And science overall.
Yes. The politicization of science has been one of the worst developments of my adult lifetime. The attempt to turn science into a tool on behalf of certain political interests has been truly bad. And here's where I'll give a couple examples, right? Because I don't want to just throw a big allegation out there. The attempt to say trans medicine is medicine. That there are vast studies suggesting that transgender surgery is going to alleviate mental health conditions among wide spectrums of the population, a proposition supported by virtually no data, and that it should be applied to minors. Like that is a political move. The attempt to suggest during COVID that Black Lives Matter, if you went out and rioted for Black Lives Matter, that you could be out there. Like there were full-on public health statements that you being in a giant crowd in the middle of the street for George Floyd, apparently it was a woke virus, didn't affect you. But if you went to the grocery store, obviously you had to gear up like you were walking into, post-nuclear Fukushima, that sort of stuff. The politicization of science in those sorts of directions has been horrifying. And what it's done is it's undermined everything scientific. So again, everything being reactionary, the reaction isn't, wow, that's crazy that they would say that. But you know what? What they're saying about, what they say about, this particular food and its effect on health, that might still be true. It was like, well, fuck those guys. Like if they said that this is wrong, then everything they say is wrong.
Blanket coverage.
Exactly. And you see that, again, in a wide variety of sort of arena in public life, that institutions, it's very hard to earn credibility for an institution, and it's incredibly easy to blow it up. It really is. Like all it takes a couple of giant cracks in the dam that holds back the public skepticism, and bam, it's gone.
The study that you were referring to, in 2020, Nature endorsed Joe Biden in the US presidential election. A survey found that viewing the endorsement did not change people's views of the candidates, but caused some to lose confidence in Nature and in US scientists generally. And that was published in Nature. Right.
Right. And then they did it again. And Scientific American did it again. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And that temptation. The word for it that I like to use, it's not my word. It's just a great word that I wish would drop into common usage, is ultracrepidarianism, which is speaking well outside your purview of expertise.
Right.
So I'm not a nuclear physicist, and so everything I say about nuclear physics should be taken with a giant iceberg chunk of salt. And whenever the editors of Scientific American decide to speak about politics, that is like case in point of ultracrepidarianism, them speaking well outside their view, their purview.
Well, you've got on one end Taylor Swift and on the other end Scientific American. Is this the period now of the election where all of the armaments are going to be sort of rallied in an attempt to try and push for whichever candidate the side wants?
It's going to be insane. The next 50 days are going to be totally out there. I mean, I can't even, like 70 days ago, we had a different nominee. Like, well, what the hell, man? I mean, like this thing is shifting so fast that if you think that we've seen the last event in this election cycle, what I've said is that God's writing this year is just awful. I mean, it's like season 8 of Game of Thrones. They spend all this time building up and like developing characters, and it takes you like a year to get from King's Landing to the Wall, and then season 8 they're like, you know what, fuck it, the timeline's all after. Yeah, exactly. You're getting on that dragon, and you're up there in 5 minutes, and you're just zooming back and forth, and none of the plotting makes sense, and it's like if it's on the board, then, I mean, God's going back to his old storylines now. I mean, like we've had 2 assassination attempts in the last 8 weeks. Like we're now getting like repeats in the storyline.
Yeah.
So I don't know. He's the wrong people are in charge of the writers' room. This is a badly written season of Trump. Trump season 8 is not good.
What would you say to people who want to try and survive with their sanity intact the next month and a half?
Don't take every bump in the road as though it's the grade of the road. A bump is not a grade. Like just like weather is not climate, a bump is not a grade. If something happens, the tendency is going to be for things to settle back into status quo ante unless it's a major event. So don't follow every single thing that happens as though this is going to be the make or break point of the election. This is the turning point. This is where everything falls apart. So there's a tendency to do that after the debate where Trump really didn't perform well, and Kamala was able to string sentences together in somewhat coherent fashion. And everyone's, oh my God, the election's over. Oh, it's over. And it's like, well, no, it'll settle back into what it was, which is pretty much a dead heat. So take a breath, and then also, yeah, spend some time not watching politics. And I say this as somebody who benefits from you watching politics. Like, watch half of my show or the whole show, and then go outside and do something else. Don't get drawn into the idea that if you miss a day, then it's the end of the world. And also, I've said this to both sides. Believe it or not, this is not the last election. Please stop with this shit. It's not true. And anybody who says that to you is lying.
Cataclysmic language.
It's just not true. And it's worse. It makes the country a worse place. It makes the country a very, very bad place. When you keep saying over and over and over that if your political opponent is elected, the world will end, then first of all, you're ramping up the rhetoric such that assassination attempts do become more common. But more importantly, you're basically saying that half the country is so evil that they want the country to end, and that there will be no more elections. So if you don't actually do something in this election, then you may as well give up hope. You may as well despair. And it's not true. The political class who are telling you this are lying to you. They are lying. And there are people in my industry who do this routinely, and it's gross. This is not the last election. 2020 was not the last election. 2016 was not the last election. There will be another election in 2028. It may not go the way we want in 2024. I really, really hope that it does. And then you know what? You're going to get back on the horse and you're going to go try, because if you don't, then you will lose. Like it's so obnoxious. And it's this sort of kind of charged language, which is done for cheap political gain.
Yeah, it's sort of pandering in a strange way, and it reminds me of the rhetoric that climate activists, the most extreme sort of totally annoying climate activists use, where they say we have this tiny amount of time or else the world's going to end and everything, and you go, well, I know that that's not the case. And I know that the reason that you're using this inflammatory language is because you think it's so important, and people are listening so little that if you overcompensate by driving the car unbelievably quickly, people go, oh, I maybe need to listen to this. And it's kind of the same. If we over-reg what's actually happening, it will motivate people in order to go out and vote against or for whoever it is that we're talking about. But it's just patronizing. It comes across as being very patronizing.
The two worst elements of our politics right now are the idea that, like, oh my God, it's the last election. If we don't vote right now, by the way, they're all lying. They're all lying right and left when they say this. They're lying. Hey, Joe Biden the other day, he goes to an event in Pennsylvania. And at this event, he puts on a MAGA hat, right? It's kind of a joke, right? There's like a bunch of firefighters there. They're big Trump fans. And he has kind of a charming joke, puts on the MAGA hat. And I thought, that's charming. That's nice. And then I thought, what's kind of crazy about that is that, like, he's going to go on TV tomorrow and he's going to say that Donald Trump is a deep and abiding threat to the soul of the country. He obviously doesn't believe that. Because if he actually believed that, he wouldn't put on that hat any more than he'd put on a swastika hat.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he doesn't believe that. He's totally full of shit. And the same thing is true when people are like, oh my God, it's the last election. So that's one tendency that I hate, is the last election crisis point. The other thing that I hate is, again, emotivism, which is a term that's used by Alistair McIntyre, not coined by him, but used by him, which is basically the attribution of motive to people in lieu of attempting to explain their logic. So what you will do is you will say the real reason that they're doing X, the real reason they say this is because they hate you and they want you to die, right? The real reason they're doing this is because they despise you. They despise you and so I have a right to despise them because they despise you. It's not just a legit disagreement about foreign policy or about tax policy. It's they hate you and they want you to die. And everything about you is terrible to them. And so you should hate them right back. Like, that is not good. It's not good for the country. Now, are there cases where that's true? Sure, there are cases where that's true. Sure, there are cases where that's true. But do I think that that's like the underlying motive of the vast majority of the American population voting the way that's different than you? No, I actually don't think I don't think people put that much thought into how they vote, is the truth. I think they get into the ballot, they get into the voting booth, and they're like, okay, I got this schmuck, and I got this person, I got this other schmuck, and like, okay, fine, so I'll vote for one of the schmucks. Like, okay, I have to.
Trust really is everything when it comes to supplements. A lot of brands may say that they're top quality, but few can actually prove it, which is why I partnered with Momentous. They make the highest quality supplements on the planet. They're literally unparalleled when it comes to rigorous third-party testing. What you read on the label is what's in the product and absolutely nothing else. 3 of the products that I use to support my brain, body, and sleep are omega-3, tonkat Ali, and magnesium L-threonate to support cognitive performance, optimal hormone function, and better sleep. And Dr. Andrew Huberman is the scientific advisor for Momentous. So if you've ever wondered what supplements he would create or what he really uses himself, this is the answer. Best of all, they ship internationally and offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you're not sure, you can buy them, try them for 29 days, and if you do not like them, they will give you your money back. Right now, you can head to the link in the description below or go to livemomentous.com/modernwisdom. Use the code modernwisdom at checkout to get 20% off everything site-wide. That's livemomentous.com/modernwisdom and modern wisdom at checkout. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip with Ben, you'll love the full-length 2-hour-long podcast, which you can watch right here. Go on. Tap it.